And we're going to talk about today a sad topic on April 28th. And that topic is going to be a very interesting one. It's involving losing someone in the military. That could be, they're still in the military and you've transitioned, or you're still getting over being in wartime and then finally transitioning. That's got to be a hard thing, Shawn, isn't it?
Well, thanks for having me on again, Neil. Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And the losing somebody in wartime is really difficult for the entire team. Because you train as a unit, you go out there, you fight as a unit, you live as a unit. Essentially for the year or whatever you're deployed, plus all the time to build up. You are a one unit, and so you get really close, and losing somebody like that is it's tough. And you see a lot of people struggle with that during the deployments and even upon return. The thing that I think anybody who's ever gone through one knows that a memorial service, especially one while you're deployed, one is very powerful. And it's designed to sort of help bring the unit together and bring a little bit of closure, obviously, to the situation as best you can. But it's just it can be a beautiful thing. And normally when you get to the roll call, which is the last piece where, the senior enlisted person usually calls out the names and gets to the person who's no longer with you, it that there's rarely a dry eye. I'll tell you that. It's definitely a moving ceremony and a great send off, if you will, to really memorialize them that way. Now, changing gears a little bit, losing somebody who retires or transitions out of the military, it can be hard because it could be a mentor, a friend, whatever. And it's a lot easier today with social media and internet and everything. You can keep in touch with everybody, and but it's still hard. Someone that you serve with day in and day out, you get to talk to, joke with, hang out, work out with, all that stuff every day. And then the next day they're not there anymore because they've moved on to the next chapter of their life. Can be absolutely tough, and on both sides. So we talk about all the time. When you transition out of the military, you need to find your tribe. You need to find that next group of people. Whether it's at work, school, church, whatever. Some sort of veteran support organization. Just trying to find something where you can build your new tribe, and that's important because we don't want to deal with isolationism because that is the killer right there.
Now, Shawn, talk about specifically enough. You could lose somebody once after you retire, you end up transitioning in the military, and someone else transitions to the military, they die young. I mean, not from active duty, but die. I mean, I looked at my class of 1991, and there were a couple people that passed away already. So this is where you need a support system. You need to have those specific things because you could lose somebody young that was a compatriot of yours.
Oh, absolutely. I know when I went to my 5-year high school reunion, we had already lost several people, and that was kind of shocking. Um, but yeah, absolutely. And there used to be studies done on this. There probably still are. I haven't seen any current data, but there used to be some staggering statistics about the number of service members who die in like the first 5 years after they get out, especially like retirement, because one, yeah, I think part of it is losing maybe your sense of purpose and being retired. You just don't know what to do with yourself, and maybe it leads to giving up. I don't know. Um, One of the things that I think is probably a bigger factor is a lot of times we develop habits, whether it's smoking, drinking, whatever the case may be, while you're in service. There's a lot of people that do that, and I was one of them. Um, but you're doing PT every day. You're out there doing physical training. You're trying to stay in shape. You're trying to do the right thing. So your body's sort of counteracting the bad things you're doing. And then you retire, and maybe you're not doing PT anymore, but you're still smoking, drinking, drinking a pot of coffee every day, et cetera, et cetera. And the body, can't necessarily process it the way it used to. So that's always sort of in my theory is, you got to be able to still counterbalance any of the negative things you may be doing like that. But all in all, I think I don't know what the current statistics are, but I'm sure it's still one of those things that you know is a factor. Those
That's
first
that,
five
that's
years.
ter- and so that's another thing. You've always talked about homelessness. You've talked about joblessness. You talked about PTSD, suicide, but you didn't talk about people that were just lost based on just not able to, just died. Maybe natural causes, certain health issues. Really, we have to do a better job. And I think that's why you're here, to do a better job, to help with this transition process so you can tell these transition stories so people can have hope.
Oh, we're definitely trying to help any way we can, because it could be as simple as an accident, a car accident, and maybe nobody's fault, just bad timing and someone passes that way. But even my own story, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, I wound up in the ER in the hospital over Christmas because my kidneys failed because I got two shots in my rear end for some painkiller and it crashed my kidneys.
Oh my gosh.
So I didn't have kidney problems. It was just the cocktail that I was given caused that to happen and could have turned out to be really, really bad. And fortunately, I was able to recover and I'm doing fine. But, it's as simple as that. It's not, I didn't go out and do something stupid. I went to a doctor who gave me shots and it, the reaction was just the wrong one. So it doesn't have to be necessarily that we're doing something wrong. It could just be truly an accident or some sort of, I don't know, misdiagnosis or something. I don't know.
That's so true,
Hmm.
because you never know um, what can happen, and something in health happens, and it could be just a freak accident.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely.
and I think that responding to your military brethren, such an important thing, and staying in touch. So that's part of the transition process too. Regardless of where in the world they are, you got to stay in touch.
Oh, most definitely. And, I got chastised because I didn't reach out to anybody and let them know I was in the hospital. And there were several people that were quite upset with me, because I didn't at least reach out and let them know what was going on. And that was heartwarming to know that they cared enough that they told me I messed up and that I shouldn't, think that way. And I need to reach out to my network and my friends and my family and everything. So, you know, the thing we have to learn and understand, and sometimes it's hard, you build this network, they care. They want to be there for you. They want to go through life with you. So, don't try to do it yourself. Reach out to them, embrace them, keep them in the loop of what's going on and reach out for help when you need it.
All right. That SOS podcast.com.
.com. Yep.
Appreciate it, Sean. Thanks again.
Thanks, Neil.
All right.